The goal of our Zeitgeist is to provide you food for thought.
If we want things to remain as they are, then we are going to have to accept change.
They managed to get malaria down and they got independence. They started to grow their economy and they invested in social goods also, and they had health care. And we never thought this would happen, that they would catch up with us and they would eventually win over Sweden.
People want their own personal consumption pattern.
After a bushfire, there are these seeds called fire ephemerals. And so if you can imagine that sort of charred landscape, we will see new things appearing.
The world has become less predictable because of complexity. And then we continue trying to predict the future, not realizing that events that are dominating the world today were not predictable.
I live in New York. We used to think that was the financial capital of the world. It's no longer the financial capital of the United States. Washington is.
From the North American point of Alaska or Canada down to Patagonia and Europe, in that triangle you can concentrate about 62% of global GDP. That has to mean something.
Our grandkids are going to come and they're going to visit us, and they're going to ask, what did you do to the major challenges of your time?
Greetings, this is Richard Garriott, flying aboard the International Space Station. The view is spectacular from here in orbit, and in one day I can look down on all of you without seeing the borders that separate you. We really do have much more in common than what separates us.
Many of our artists now make more money, and we make more money, selling downloads in the digital world than selling CDs in the physical world.
Yes. The really big change in the last 2 or 3 years has been the way in which, for us, in particular in news, it's become a conversation.
I think we've been dealing with the structural change for many years, and what the recession has done is just completely exacerbated what we've experienced.
My strong conviction that without profitable newspapers operating on a multi-platform basis, there will not be high-quality journalism, and there would be a very serious loss for democracy.
Well, my advice would be to make paths where people walk. Don't try and encourage people to walk in ways where they don't want to go. Be led by what people want to do.
And is that a gentle way of saying that it may well be that people want to consume by the article, or heck, let's look ahead 5 years, by the paragraph?
There is a sense that with power comes responsibility, and the corporate sector has huge power.
The fact is, corruption is a zero-sum game. You have a corrupt politician, you have a corrupt businessman or businesswoman. It has to work like that because politicians don't corrupt themselves. Somebody pays the checks.
Finally, you can get to a point where conducting becomes something else. I call it doing by not doing.
They say time changes things, but actually you have to change things for yourself.
In any crisis, anytime you have such a significant event, it produces enormous opportunity.
Well, there was a brief period when the bankers took over that coveted #1 spot of being public enemy #1, but British politicians have made a determined effort in the last 2 weeks to get that coveted place back. Boring is the new sexy in banking right now, isn't it?
We must recognise that we cannot continue without nature's support. We cannot have capitalism without capital, nature's capital.
Eu acho que várias. There are many things that people can learn everywhere. First of all, what they can learn is to respect the forest as another human being on this planet.
Respeitar a floresta.
For me, it was a real shocker in high school when a NASA doctor told me that your bad eyesight means you will never be selected as a NASA astronaut. After kind of getting over that depression, I said, well, look, who are they to tell me whether I'm allowed to go to space or not? If NASA's not going to let me go with NASA, I'll just have to make my own space program.
We actually give you a product that's useful. For the very first time, I'll reliably convert any audio file into text over and over and over and over again.
For me, it's really about tackling a big enough problem to make it interesting enough.
In December last year, we would have sold over 20 million bits of virtual Christmas decoration inside the game.
And
So
does
it's
that
quite
expire after Christmas, so they buy it again the next year, or they can put it in the attic?
No, we would probably launch new items next year.
You don't want to be caught wearing last year's Christmas
No,
hat.
absolutely not. You wouldn't. You wouldn't mean it.
Good thinking. Yes.
The consumer has always been in control. We haven't always recognized that, but these new tools make it easier and faster for them to remind us.
People have just been like putting themselves up at the moment on this. Look at me, look at me, look at me. But there's a movement if you can get together. And I think every company has to ask itself, are you a company that society wants to exist?
There's a wonderful African quote, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
There's an old joke in classical music. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. The example here is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Upload, upload, upload.
I thought that I would consult my, my individual portable information device, what I call the iPod that I brought with me here. And I find it incredibly useful in helping me find things that I didn't know that I was looking for.
I still think that the candidate who has the clearest set of messages, who has the best organisation, the best communication skills, is the one that is likeliest to win.
Have things moved away from the institutions that we used to have into something else? I still think that what you've got there, a newspaper, is still the thing that we trust the most.
Let's have a vision to try to be carbon neutral in the next 10 years. Let's take the UK as an example. Let's get out there and take on Greenpeace and say to them, nuclear energy, cleaner, it's done less damage to the world than almost any other fuel.
And I think you showed the power of slightly more mature people to have more common sense.
Is that what I have become to you after all our years together? The more mature partner.
So I find activities like this invigorate me. They give me more energy, being around really smart people and making sure everybody has a good time.